Hello, this is going to be your video notes for literal equations. You're going to copy these down, make sure you get everything that's on the slides as we walk through them, and then also you can use the accompanying video about going over your classwork for today. But the first part of this is just going to be kind of some introductory things, so make sure that you kind of follow along because some of it's a little bit trickier than some of the equations that we've done in the past. So the first thing you want to make sure, anything I wrote on the slide, make sure you get down in your notes and I'll look for it next time I see you on Wednesday. We are going to be isolating for the given value, which means we're looking for whatever the variable and we're isolating that particular one that's declared. There's going to be multiple variables within these problems, so it's important that you always identify the specific one that they're asking you to isolate. We're going to do this in one of two ways. The first way is we're either going to do kind of the same thing that we did on previous equations. We're either going to turn numbers to 0 or we're going to turn them to 1. Specifically, numbers that are not part of the term of the variable that we're solving for, we're going to make 0. And numbers that are part of the term, we're going to make turn to 1. So keep those two kind of main points when we're doing these because it can look many different ways. But we always want to focus in on zeroing out and turning to 1. Okay, so think back to this kind of problem. Obviously, we're solving for x here, but usually they do state it. If we were solving this for x, we can see that these two terms are connected. And so in order to turn the 3 into 1, we're going to divide by 3, right? So it'd be 8/3 is equal to x. We're going to use that same philosophy when we're given this equation here, and we'll be asked specifically to, let's say, solve for a. So I know it's a little frightening because there are multiple variables, but don't be scared. You can definitely do it. You're still going to look using the same kind of skills that we've worked on all unit. We're still going to look at the side that has the a. That will be this side. And the m is attached to the a. So we're going to make that turn into a 1. And anything can turn into 1 besides 0 if we divide it off. So we're going to go ahead and divide by m. And all we're looking to do here is isolate the a. So m divided by m, that's just 1. We cannot simplify f over m. We just leave it that way. So it's f over m equals 1a or f over m equals a. And the way that we know that we've done it is we're looking, yes, a is by itself. So it's already been isolated. And we'll do a couple of these, like I said, but we're still going to use the same operations that we've been doing this whole unit. So just make sure that even though it's variables, they work the same way on these. So in this kind of problem, this is just a basic one step. We're going to do the same thing. We look at the side. Oh, there's a half. So in order to undo the 1/2 and get x by itself, we would multiply by 2 over 1 to turn it into 2 over 2, or just 1x, which would be negative 16. So again, we're using that same type of thought process when we're looking for other ones. Let's say that this problem, it said, let's solve for h. Okay, so we're still going to draw the line, but it sometimes helps if you highlight the variable that you're trying to isolate, so that way you know, I got to get rid of the 1/2 and I also got to get rid of the b. We're going to get rid of the 1/2 first. Just tends to be easier once the fraction's gone. Then we'll deal with the b. So because all of these terms are connected, we're going to turn every single one into a 1. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1 on both sides. I'm just going to give you 2a equals bh. And then from here, I have to get rid of the B. So right now, it's still connected to the H. So the best way to move it so that it's not, we isolate the H and the B is no longer next to it, is just to divide both sides by B. B divided by B, that turns into a 1. And then this is as simple as it can get. It cannot get any simpler than that. So we're just going to leave that part the way that it is. And you get 2A divided by B equals H. So a lot of variables going on in this, but just be patient with yourself because it looks complicated, but after you do a bunch of practice, it'll seem a little bit less complicated. You're still, like I said, kind of following those same rules. So for this one, we're solving for x, right? We would still zero out the 4 because it's not connected with the x. That gives us 16. And then we would divide by 3. So you would get 16 thirds. You're going to use that same, again, that same philosophy when it comes to, there we go, solving here. So again, usually they'll always state actually, that what variable you're going to be isolating. So we'll just say in this case, solve for y. It can even help if you think of everything else that's not y as numbers. So instead of this being an x, maybe even thinking of it as like 40 versus 4 times x. So if this were 40, you would subtract 40 and then divide by 2. It's the same thing. You're just going to subtract 4x. So we're going to zero out the 4x. Then we get 2y equals 8 minus 4x. And then from there, we're still looking again. We're solving for y. Now we have a number that's connected to the y, so we're going to divide it off to turn it to a 1. We're going to divide each term in the problem by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. Negative 4x divided by 2 is negative 2x. So that would be your answer for that. And just be okay with the fact that sometimes you're going to see it the other way. When we get to later units, we'll be using, that's really slope-intercept form. We'll be using that form. Usually the x comes before the number, the constant. So let's do another one like that. We will solve for y. So again, we're looking here. The 5x is not connected to the y like the 2 is. So if we're solving for y, we want to get this to turn to 0 first. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. We cannot put the 10 and the 5x together because they are not like terms. And we get negative 2y equals 10 minus 5x. And now we're going to divide everything by negative 2. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 would be negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 2 doesn't simplify, but it does change to a positive. So I'm going to do plus 5 over 2x, or we can actually write, if you look kind of on the back wall in the classroom by the wardrobe, I have that, but you can actually just write 5 halves x and pull the x kind of out front as long as it's in the numerator. So that's how we would solve for that one. We'll solve for w. This is the perimeter formula. So for this, you're thinking, okay, what is on the side with the w? It's the 2L and also this 2. So we're going to get rid of the 2L first. Zero that out. Positive 2L. This just turns to 0, and then you get p minus 2L. And then we can divide everything by 2. Now, there's a couple ways you could write this answer. You could write it as is. That would be fine. You could separate it so that it was p over 2 minus 2L divided by 2 is just L. or I guess capital L. Or you could write it as 1/2 P minus L. All of those are fine. They're all acceptable. Okay, we're going to do one more. It's a lot, no problem, notes. And like I said, make sure you pause if you need to, because it's going fast, I'm sure. So for this one, we're going to solve for x, which is over here. We've got to get rid of the c, the d, and the f. So there's no other numbers, it's just variables. But again, you want to think if it's not connected, make it 0. If it is connected, turn it into a 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is move that f and 0 it out. Then you get cx over d equals b minus f. And this looks kind of familiar. We've done some problems like this, but we're going to multiply, actually. You can multiply by d first and then divide by c. That would be fine. Or you could just multiply by the reciprocal. But be careful when you do it on this side. Because we're multiplying the whole side, that includes both the b minus and the f. You can wrap parentheses around it. And you can just leave it. I would just leave it just like this. I would not distribute it. Just leave it just like that. So what you're going to do now is you're going to work on that puzzle that the sub should have. So you just asked nicely to grab it. And then I'll post a key for that within your agenda. Just make sure that your checklist you submit before I see you on Wednesday. Most of you should be able to finish it in class. But if you don't get the time to finish everything, make sure you do that and take a look at what your homework is. All right, thank you. I'll see you guys later.